Hi, welcome back. If it's your first time here, my name's Lee. So today I want to talk about the recent sanctions that have been applied to China from the USA. But before I do, I just want to go over something from Xi Jinping and Joe Biden's meeting 3 or 4 days ago. So if you look at the readout from the Chinese side of that meeting, there's a paragraph in there that I think is very important, and I want to read that to you now. So it says, President Xi pointed out that the China-US relationship, instead of getting out of the predicament created by the previous US administration, has encountered a growing number of challenges. What's worth noting in particular is that some people in the US have sent a wrong signal to Taiwan independence forces. This is very dangerous. Mishandling of the Taiwan question will have a disruptive impact on the bilateral ties. China hopes that the US will give due attention to this issue. The direct cause for the current situation in the China-US relationship is that some people on the US side have not followed through on the important common understanding by the two presidents and have not acted on President Biden's positive statements. The US has misperceived and miscalculated China's strategic intention. Now, this is a very clear message that China is saying that basically Biden says one thing, and then after the meeting, certain diplomats or people in the US or even Biden himself does something totally different. So their words and their actions don't match up. They say they want to have good relations with China. They say they will honor the one China policy. Yet as soon as the meeting's over, they do kind of the opposite thing. So they're not sticking to what they say. And again, after this meeting between Xi and Biden, 3 or 4 days later, the American side issued some sanctions onto Chinese diplomats. And again, I'm just going to read the statement from the American State Department of what that was. The Department of State is taking action against PRC officials for their involvement in repressive acts against members of ethnic and religious minority groups and religious and spiritual practitioners inside and outside of China's borders, including within the United States. The United States rejects efforts by PRC officials to harass, intimidate, surveil, and abduct members of ethnic and religious minority groups, including those who seek safety abroad, and US citizens who speak out on behalf of these vulnerable populations. We are committed to defending human rights around the world and will continue to use all diplomatic and economic measures to promote accountability. Now, I think the very important sentence in this is the last one. We will continue to use all diplomatic and economic measures to promote accountability. Now, what that means is diplomatic and economic sanctions. Now, as we've just seen, the US, along with its US allies, has put a whole stack of sanctions on Russia. And it seems they're very, very eager to start applying similar sanctions to China. Now, this has been, outlined in the RAND report, of which I will do a future video on, covering that in its entirety. But the US probably know that it would be very difficult to launch conventional warfare against China. China are not like an Iraq or a Libya. China are huge, they have a huge economy. But what I think the USA wish to do is launch an economic war against China. And it's almost as if that, the economic sanctions against Russia were the starter and the main course is going to be China. And I think China will have been watching very, very closely. It's obvious from the meeting between Xi and Biden that the Chinese side just don't trust what America says in those meetings. And I would imagine they're watching what's happening with Russia very, very carefully. And I would imagine they're preparing for similar economic sanctions coming down the pipeline. I mean, we've already seen America trying to suggest that China were supplying weapons or certain help to the Russians. And it's quite interesting that I think it was on Twitter that Blinken made a statement, or some American politician made a statement that, China have not supplied any military equipment to Russia since the Xi-Biden meeting, implying that before that they had. So this is how they try and create the narrative. But it really seems to me as if America are really pushing hard to try to find reasons and excuses to sanction China with more economic sanctions. And I think China will be very, very well aware of that. I mean, the thing that China have, they saw that the central bank of Russia was sanctioned. And now China also hold a huge amount of foreign reserves in probably banks all around the world. And I would imagine they're actually looking at, strategically at those reserves at the moment. It's also interesting to know that they own over $1 trillion of US government debt. So I would also imagine they will be looking at that. Anyway, that's my take on it. Love to know what you think. Leave your comments down below. But as always, for now, take care.